Hey everyone, Scott Kinka here. On our latest episode of the Bridgecast, we recorded it live at the 2024 Bridgepointe Tech Summit. We had thought leaders from Dialpad, Observe AI, Talkdesk, and Vonage sharing amazing insights. Sure, your business is probably experiencing AI fatigue. It's all anyone is talking about. But that's because too many conversations are just about tech and innovation when they should be about getting real, measurable outcomes. We talk about how AI is transforming customer and employee experiences with some cool success stories and practical tips. Don't miss out. Tune in here, spend the next half hour with us, and hear how companies are cutting through the AI hype and making it work for them. If you find this kind of real-world tech content useful, please give us a thumbs up or comment and subscribe or follow on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your tech content. But without further ado, here is the first half of our live podcast from Palm Springs at Bridgepointe Tech Summit 2024.
Tech has reshaped our reality, redefining how we live, work, and connect. And driving this revolution, real people with bold ideas. Welcome to the Bridgecast, where host Scott Kinka has in-depth discussions with the brightest minds in tech. Together, they tackle the future of work, innovation, entrepreneurship, and navigating the new realities of AI and hybrid work. These conversations will give you the insights and strategies to stay ahead, both in business and life. The Bridgecast is a service of Bridgepointe Technologies. As the nation's leading tech advisory and consulting firm, Bridgepointe is disrupting the way businesses make and manage their technology and customer experience investments. We invite you to experience the better way, the Bridgepointe way. Now, here's your host, Scott Kinka.
Thank you. You guys are so well trained. I love it. Well, welcome to another episode of the Bridgecast. As you can hear, I'm holding a mic and I can barely speak at this point because we've had a brisk couple of days together. We're thrilled to have you here. And for those of you who are watching this episode online, welcome to another episode of the Bridgecast. We're excited to have you. And as we start every episode, of course, if you are not currently a follower of the Bridgecast, we would love for you to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or your favorite podcast platform. Today, we have a really special episode. We're going to have actually 2 episodes generated out of this live taping, and the live taping is here at Bridgepointe Tech Summit 2024. Can I hear it from our live studio audience? Super excited to have you here. Over the last couple of days, we have been talking about reimagining the future. And we've been doing that as a technology community full of consultants who work directly with CIOs and the suppliers who make them and the CIOs look really good together. And throughout that, AI has been a consistent theme of the conversation. So we've compiled a great group to talk through that today. Some of our Bridgepointe suppliers, the executives in those groups that are focused around not only this channel, but around AI as a route to market. So we did a similar scenario last year where we had 2 episodes around AI, but those episodes were very much, what is AI? What's going on in AI? And we're going to tap into a little bit of that. But today, it's really a focus on how are people engaging in this, new technology, and how is it real or become real in the marketplace. So I have an esteemed panel here. I'm going to allow each of you actually to introduce yourselves quickly. Tell us a little bit about what you do. Tell us a little bit about your company. For those of you who've been on the podcast before, I always say, just give me your company's superpower quickly as we go. So I'm going to start with you, Nick. Fire away.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Nick Slater. I am the Chief Revenue Officer at Dialpad. Dialpad is an AI-powered business communications platform. We own the whole stack, and we provide UCaaS solutions, contact center solutions, sales intelligence solutions to small businesses all the way through enterprise. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nick. Millen?
Yeah, so my name is Milind Pansare. I'm the VP of Product Marketing at Observe AI. Observe AI is the AI platform for contact centers. So we currently power over 350 plus mid to large enterprises with our AI platform. And you can think of it as a way to make conversations that your agents are having with customers better. After the conversation, to improve the efficiency of the contact center by allowing you to automatically QA and coach all of the agents in terms of their performance. And lastly, getting those insights, the voice of the customer that's in your conversations, and propagating those to improve business processes throughout the whole business.
Fantastic, thank you. Sean?
Yeah, good morning. I'm Sean O'Connell. I'm responsible for the global AI business in Talkdesk. For those not familiar with Talkdesk, we are a customer experience platform powered by AI. Really what we're looking to do is drive a positive outcome, reduce efficiencies or inefficiencies within the call center, and most importantly, provide a strong ROI.
Fantastic. Appreciate that. Christy?
Hi, good morning. I'm Christy Thomas. Am I a little too loud for you guys? Late night, the nest, I hear. Senior Vice President for Indirect Global Channel and Alliances at Vonage. For those of you who don't know what we do, we provide residential phone service to your grandma. Just kidding. Is anybody listening? There we go. We're actually a global unified communications stack. We provide global communications, own our own platform for all different types of user community. The end users when it comes to communications platforms as a service, contact center for service sales and support and others, and the knowledge workers in the marketplace. Thanks for having me, Scott.
Appreciate it. Christy, you've clearly never been in front of a live audience
Never.
before, I can tell. Okay. All right, fantastic. So we collaborated together as a group on some of the discussion points here. So some of the slides were slides that we've used throughout the rest of the summit here from Bridgepointe perspective. Some of them have been provided by our esteemed panelists. What we're going to do is frame the conversation with sharing, some third-party data, and then get into a discussion on a couple of topics. I'll toss to one of them, and then, kind of free for all after that. Let's just see where this goes. And we have time on the clock there, so we know how we're doing. We've talked quite a bit over the course of the last couple of days about the priorities of CIOs, how that job has changed. It's a strategic job. I think I have to give one of our strategists some credit. Said yesterday, popped off the stage, was not in my script, helping our CIOs have the job they want or imagine the job they want rather than the job that happens to them, all right? And this is one of those categories. So CIOs have functional priorities. Here's 5 priorities for the year. You can read them yourself. But what's super important, and I'm just adding an animation there, is that 3 of the 5 priorities for CIOs are effectively tied up in the very same topic, all right? We're talking about augmenting the business with generative AI, right-sizing AI governance, which will be one of the topics that we talk about here, and then lastly, exponentially improving the customer experience. Exponential, you guys remember that in the keynote session yesterday, right? Okay, so with all of that in mind, John shared with us in our pre-prep the impact radar for generative AI. Now, this is a word salad on a slide, but for those of you who haven't seen a impact radar, this is from Gartner. The closer to the center, the more effectively ready for prime time and adopted a technology is. And you'll notice it's all really on the outside looking in, but the biggest ball in the closest center inside of the impact radar is effectively generative AI, chat bots, for all intents and purposes. So the first question for the panel is, we're sort of in this era of, I used this phrase yesterday, go get some. As it relates to AI, right? Just like we were on cloud 5 years ago. And, so our customers are not exactly coming at us with well-thought-out use cases, at least yet. But many of them have board-level edicts or edicts from the CEO to go get some AI right now. So, Sean, I'll ask this question. Let's connect desire and consumption, right? Is CX and CX technologies, is that the land and expand opportunity, if you will, for companies looking to just kind of jump into the AI pond?
Yeah, I do. I feel like it's a land and expand play. Many customers already have CCaaS platforms. They have solutions they've invested in. However, maybe they address 50 to 70% of the work use cases that they have or the business challenges they're trying to solve. You should think of AI as a solution that can fill those gaps, land, provide value. You can expand that across the enterprise, and most importantly, customers there start to realize the value, get the value, and they start to come back with use cases that they feel are relevant to them. You become sticky, you start to protect your install base, and you're delivering value at the same time.
Makes sense. Anyone else want to comment on this being sort of at least the easy button start of an AI journey for customers?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think this is kind of the 102. 101 is the very easy transcription, summarization. I think we're all used to that at this point. But this is a very fast follow 102, where you're able to take an established CX environment and do things like score for sentiment, give customer satisfaction, give call quality scorecards. It's a very approachable way to consume AI and make it really tangible for those users and customers.
The only thing I would add to that too, because I agree in terms of how to beachhead into this type of technology via CX is that we talk about use cases and we talk about the conceptual value that the business brings, but if you're not representing to your customer the way in which they can technically adopt it and show you the business outcomes financially, so tell the feasibility story, you're never going to get into land and expand. There's got to have financial benefits to it.
100%. And Milan, we're going to get to some of the use cases, but fire in now if you want to add anything there.
Yeah, I think what Christy said, I agree with 100%. Everyone has a budget to spend on Gen AI, but I call it the field of broken dreams. If they just go in and implement some technology for some use case, right? So tying it to hard ROI and KPIs that they can talk to that quarter, because they have to go tell their CEO, look, this quarter, this is what I did if I invested in a voice bot, or if I invested in post-interaction AI. So I think being able to partner with the vendor and being able to explain exactly where and guide where you're going to see ROI is what's going to make the stakeholders making that investment a little more comfortable.
Hold that the ROI comment in a minute, because that's the toughest, I think, thing we're all chasing right now. Let's just talk about where we are. 1 in 3 CIOs are currently running some form of an AI pilot. And this isn't necessarily in CX. This could be a generative AI pilot. This means they could have Copilot fired up in their Office 365 environment. It just means they're started in some way. We're going to stick with the Gartner thing here. You've all seen the hype cycle a couple of times. For those of you who haven't, the hype cycle effectively says that any technology goes through a cycle where it reaches the at current height of inflated expectations and will go through a trough of disillusionment therefore after, and eventually settle into what is a consistent adoption from a technology perspective where customers understand what it is and are adopting it consistently. And this was 23. They haven't published the 24 yet. They do this one at the end of the year. So that's an interesting question. I'm going to ask you all kind of where you think we are in the hype cycle right now, because we're getting involved in a lot of AI for AI's sake conversations. But I did just want to share this. You can all take a moment. I'm not going to read it. I found this online as I was pulling the slides together. But this is what people say is the real hype cycle about generative AI in particular. So a little bit of fun there. I'll leave it up on the slide while I'm asking this question. Where exactly are we in the hype cycle right now? I'll toss it out to anybody. Everybody's got a shot.
I'll take a first swing. So I personally think we're in the trough. I think there's a lot of AI fatigue right now. I constantly say that when we go into a customer, our competitor is not Christy or Sean or others, but it's the hundreds of really bad AI pitches out there. We may be the 6th or 7th AI pitch that CIO is hearing that day. And so I think our prospects and customers are really getting fatigued. They're not hearing the business outcomes. They're not hearing the value proposition in it for them. A lot of this is kind of sand slipping through fingertips. And so going back to some of the points made by my counterparts, it's so critical to come in with a point of view, clear ROI, and then follow through on that ROI promised.
Super interesting. Sean?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think the one thing, and you hit the nail on the head, right? It's the 15 other people that come in, they're all telling the same story. The product suite seems to do all the same things. And now it becomes a product pitch. And it's a 45-minute call for education rather than business impact. So where you see that execution change is when you do bring that point of value, but more importantly, you've got areas they can start, use cases they can attack, and a plan on how to do it. That's where you start to see the shift. Otherwise, to your point, I think it really is just fatigue. Yeah.
Christy, the C-suite is dictating, go get some AI, right? And this ROI concept has come up, a couple times already on the panel. Give us the order of operations there. As a CIO, as your recommendation, go find the use case, agree on the ROI metrics, and bring it back. Like, walk us through not getting yourself to the edge of a cliff and jumping off. If you're a CIO, just going and getting some AI.
Right. Well, and it's coming from top down, right? So you've got this huge media hype around AI and the benefits of it that are everywhere. And so that is a directive that's coming down into the CIO's office, and it's trying to navigate where the prioritization and initiatives are. And I think the real miss and the opportunity for you all is that it's not just AI within the office of the CIO, it's AI within the CFO, it's AI within the COO. There's all these different types of initiatives and point solutions that are driving bad conversations of distraction and noise. So your value in terms of without like this use case conversation is actually the value, where you go in and you do a readiness assessment for the entire organization on behalf of the CIO. And you find all of these different use cases where there's relevance of leveraging this technology, and then you start to find the commonalities of these use cases to really drive initiatives in order for adoption. What you're going to find, don't want to be the spoiler alert, is you're going to find the use cases that drive the adoption where they're actually technically ready to adopt it, where there's business impact is, again, back in the sales, service, and support organization, because the reality is in those three areas, 80% of the cost is people cost, 20% is technology. So if you can offset that a little bit to make people more beneficial in terms of their cost ratio, then you're going to drive the ROI around it. So that's where the low-hanging fruit is for the use cases, but you got to lead the witness there.
Yeah, Melinda, I'm going to come to you on this one because you got a great story there. But it's really interesting what you just said is that it's saying we just made our people X more productive by turning on Copilot is a really hard ROI, right? Like, okay, how many more widgets did you get done in a day? Or did you just work less? I'm not really sure. But you're right. Stories around people costs are interesting. As you were telling that story, I was thinking, Melinda, about what you guys do on your network. I'm wondering how many of your customers are actually coming to you saying, we need AI, and you're like, yeah, it's kind of already powering the solution that you already have with us. But if you need to tell a story, walk us through that a little bit. And you have some really good ROI stories on the back office of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just where we are on that hype cycle trough, I think it depends on the company you're talking to. If you're talking to large financial companies, many of whom we work with, they have more AI and LLM engineers than many of us do, even as technology providers. They're very, very savvy about where they want to go. So the companies that behave more as technology being their differentiator are already there. They know what they're doing. They have the use cases. So I'll give you an example. We have a very tech-savvy healthcare company, Accolade. So what were they looking to solve? When you're on the phone, they're in patient services, so it's the number you call at the back of your benefits, employee benefits card. They have people who are talking about healthcare. They're having empathetic conversations about difficult things that are going on with your family members. And they had people writing notes, because in a contact center, you have to do notes. And then you got to push them in the CRM. The notes were terrible, and people weren't paying attention to the actual call. So at Accolade, they were able to actually automate that very simple use case right away. And so 50% of their after-call work is just eliminated, right? So those might sound like massive numbers, but with generative AI, you can get good ROI on very specific use cases today. And what's happened is really not that 50% savings, but the quality of the calls that Accolade has with their members is so much better in every interaction.
Great example. And it's a great tie-in here. This is from Foundry, who publishes CIO magazine. And look at how companies are leveraging AI and generative AI. The top use cases, number one, chatbots and virtual assistants, right? Number two, content generation. That should be obvious. We're seeing that. And then three, I think it 1 and 3 kind of fits the conversation you were just talking about here, industry-specific applications, right? It's really hard to come up with an ROI on bullet 2 there, but the other 2, can be very specific. Here's another look at it. This is from our research partner, Infotech. Top 5 big bets they're recommending to CIOs around AI. And in our pre-call, we kind of went through this slide. We all talked together, and I said, I think probably 1, 2, 4, and 5, frankly, all have a place in CX solutions, really at the end of the day, right? So here's a little, we're going to just kind of go through this. So tell us a customer story. I have a chart up here with some examples. It's pulled from the Infotech research, but we got a really good one from you, Milind, right there. I'm going to start here, Nick.
Yeah.
Tell us a good customer story around how they got from, AI, two letters, right?
Yes.
to 3 letters ROI in this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think first it all starts with what is the definition of AI? And we've really boiled that down to it's time savings and it's the accumulation of data and insights to make more informed decisions. And what do all companies want to do? They want to accelerate revenue, they want to protect profitability. And so if you can take those variables and tie them together based on the needs for that individual or that team that you're selling to, that's where the magic happens. So we have a number of use cases. We always say you must have a clear ROI when selling our AI solution. It's what makes it defensible, armor-proofs it. And so I take a customer like the LA Chargers, who we're very happy to have in the Dialpad family. They have a lot of folks who are doing a lot of outbound dialing. They're selling tickets, they're selling sponsorships, they're calling their valued customers, they're setting up big promotional tours for their team. And it's really tough to trust that each of those individuals is saying the things you want them to say in the order you want them to say it, and also being able to capture the information coming back. And so utilizing our AI and utilizing our custom playbooks and some of the call scoring, those individuals now stick to a particular script. AI captures the response from the customer. It's automatically imported into their CRM, which as a revenue leader, I'm constantly thumping on reps, take notes, put it in the CRM or it doesn't exist. So now all of that is automated, and we can actually set out ROI goals for time to ramp new individuals, time to hit their first selling goal, time to hit overachievement of their plan, how many customer calls are ending with a satisfied outcome. And that gives a whole lot of data and insights to the LA Chargers to be able to more effectively run their business.
Sean, give us a story.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take one that's more EX focused, because oftentimes we talk about AI in a CX setting, but the reality is you've got employee experience initiatives that carry a big impact. And in the case of McAfee, they wanted to address and support over 3,000 employees, right? And so that includes things like onboarding, new hires, offboarding, benefits information. And when you only have a handful of IT staff or agents internal to do that, you've got to figure out how do you automate much of that, right? And so their focus and the CIO's focus was, we want to automate 90% of those queries. And when you think about it, there are going to be queries you just can't automate. There's going to be steps, security procedures, and things that are required. When it was done, they were able to take close to 90%, not all the way, automate all of those steps tied to other technologies and other platforms, map that to disparate databases so they get the answers they needed, and they were able to take those expensive IT resources that were handling these calls and repurpose them on other projects that were far more strategic. So you had a better customer employee experience, you had a better overall outcome. People didn't have to wait for an email to go into a queue 3 or 4 days for something to come back and it's still not resolved. They could get real-time support. And I think those are strong, valuable use cases internally that drive not only ROI, but great employee satisfaction, and companies are looking at that.
It's a great story. It also brings up another question, which I'm going to say to hold on because we're going to get there, which is the concept of customer preparedness.
Yeah.
You talked about a lot of process in there that we talked to a lot of customers who don't have it written down. That sort of changes things. But we're going to come back to that problem and tackle it as a group. Christy, tell us a customer story.
Yeah, sure. This is a little story about Jack and Diane.
A Little ditty?
A little bitty
perfect.
story. No, so what I want to do is take a little bit of the intermix of what you guys just told around customer experience, employee experience, but then also platform optimization. So we have a customer that focuses on debt resolution and credit help. And so that's a very sensitive, emotional thing, right, for many people out there in the marketplace. So just hold that in terms of that's what their profile of their customer is. This company has actually invested heavily in Salesforce across all their clouds. So they have Marketing Cloud, they have Sales Cloud, they have Service Cloud, but they're great. They're in the cloud as a SaaS platform, but they don't talk to each other, and there's lots of quintessential information that's in there. And so the way in which AI has been leveraged with this organization is it's interwoven through those clouds and then also extended out to the customer, meaning they've leveraged a digital engagement to engage in the customer in a channel that is that they can feel friendly in, because this is an emotional thing, and sometimes people don't want to talk to a human yet. You kind of got to bring them in, get them into that safe zone, and when you do get them into that safe zone to talk to them about the value that you bring as an organization to get them out of this situation of debt, you got to make sure that you've got all the right data real time to help them along the way before you lose them, and it's a process. And so the way in which we work with Salesforce and this customer is if-then AI automation throughout these platforms, but then also making sure we're prompting the customer service representative that's taking this individual through a journey of being unhealthy with their financial situation to healthy, not over one phone call, but over a period of time. And so it's a life journey, and so you're constantly looking. The other thing is that it's looking at data lakes to see patterns of that particular profile of individual, to find commonalities to help them faster along this journey, because they're not the only one in the situation. So it's not just leveraging AI for customer experience or employee experience, but it's also leveraging the platforms and the data lakes to get this information faster and do something on it if-thens. Next best action.
It's really an ecosystem solution at the end of the day, right? I mean,
I love that.
I mean, you mentioned Salesforce, you mentioned we got into data, like all of those pieces. It's not, you could buy a platform that does AI things, but I think, regularly we're thinking silver bullet, and we're not like, well, how about data? Well, how about the CRM process? Well, what's feeding into that?
Listen, if you made it this far, there must have been some good content, or you're just a fan or a relative of mine. In either case, we appreciate you spending your most valuable asset with us, your time. We don't take that lightly. We'd also like to say one more time that we're appreciative of Bridgepointe Technologies and their belief and sponsorship of this show. We hope that if you or someone you know is thinking about your company's digital transformation, or simply the next IT project that you may not have the resources, budget, or time to get to, I'm sure that Bridgepointe, one of the country's fastest growing technology advisory and procurement firms, can help. Check out bridgepointetechnologies.com. Don't forget the E on Bridgepointe, or simply reach out to me at skinka, SKINKA, at bpt3.net. Also take a minute, please, if you would, to give us a 5-star review on your favorite platform. It helps give us the visibility to reach other people like you. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Bridge. I'm Scott Kinka, and until next time, there's a lot of noise out there in business and in life. Do what you can to be the signal. Thanks.